The lecture. Yeah, I hope everyone got like the lecture that was shared. Um, okay, can you all see my screen? Just give me like a thumbs up. That would help. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So I hope that everyone got this lecture, and so that just in case you wanted to follow along, you can follow along with the lecture slides. I shared both the lecture slides and the do file. The do file I've shared already because last time we had some issues, and then some of us were not able to run commands. But ideally, I would want that you don't just like copy paste from the do file. Like try to do as we do in the slides. Okay. All right. So in the last class, we basically we discussed macros, and we discussed a little bit of how to explore data. Right? We looked at what are the types of data. We looked at how you have different types of labels as well. That there are variable labels, there are value labels, and we looked at some options with two-way tab. This obviously does not show everything we did because we also focused on how to read the syntax of commands and using the help option. And we will be doing more of that today. And I think last class I wanted to touch upon missing data, but we could not. So that is for today's class. So today's class, I will start with like doing what I wanted to do about missing data. And then we're going to go into cleaning data. Now, as you can see, there's a lot more to be done today than there was last week. And the reason that we have so much more now, and we'll be able to complete it, I hope we can complete it in the same amount of time, is because we're going to get into the practice of how to read the command syntax, how to search for help, read the syntax of the command, and then write it ourselves. Okay. So we will look into that. And that will make us like speed up how we learn the commands. And you'll find that this is a useful skill in general to have for STATA. Okay. So let's start with the missing data. Now, before we get there, I want everyone to, so I hope you can see my screen. So, I mean, go into your do file, load the data set we were using last week. It's also in the do file, and then keep till this level of variables, okay? Just so it's easy for us to. I want everyone to reach this stage, and then we can start doing more commands. So give me a thumbs up or something when you've done this, okay?
Could you repeat till where we have to
Yes. Till exploring data, right?
Thanks.
So till keeping a few variables for ease of exploration, basically. This is everything we're doing this to set up. You already know how to use globals now. We did that in last class. So use a global, use your path, load this data, and then keep these variables that I have set out in the do file, okay? Obviously, when you start using your do file, you will see that like all of these paths, this is my computer's path. Your path to your, like where the file is stored in your computer will look different. So you will have to change this path. But the other command, this should remain the same. Is everyone able to do it? Is anyone having trouble or anything like that? Let me know. Okay. Hello. I want everyone to do this along with me. So if you're having trouble, if you're stuck somewhere, you should tell me. You should let me know, Ki, I'm stuck over here, and we can work through it. Okay. Who have been able to load the data till now? Anyone who has been able to load the data? Okay. So let's go over like loading of data really slow, right? So you all know that we first have to use the command clear. We don't need to log this right now, so ignore those commands. Then you remember from last class that you can set like the path to where your data is as a global, right? And then you can load the data from there using the global. Is there anyone who is stuck over here in this part? If you tell me only then I'll be able to help you. Otherwise, we'll just be stuck over here, right? Hello? Hello?
We can hear
Yeah,
you.
we can
Again.
hear you.
I know you can hear me, but I'm asking, where is everyone stuck? That's I'm trying to understand. Have you been able to load the data or not? Can someone answer?
Yeah,
Okay, Ankit, you've been able to load the data?
yeah,
Okay. I'm going to ask everyone by name. Vinayakan, have you loaded the data?
I'm just copying the like pathways. Like I attended the last class. I know how to do that. Yeah. I
Okay,
just
so
need some.
let me know. Okay. Saras Chandra, Kavitab, Roshan, have you been able to load the data? Let me know when you've loaded the data so that I can then continue. Okay, great. I'm waiting on then Saras Chandra, Roshan, and Vinayakan. So you have to let me know when you load the data.
Actually, I'm unable to find this SMCL file. I mean, where I mean, actually the that
You can ignore the SMC. You can ignore this portion. Okay, Vinayakan, you
okay.
don't have to like forget about the log portion and just load the data using this.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So if your PC is causing trouble, what I'll do is I'm going to wait for Roshan, are you done? Have you been able to load the data? So Saras Chandra told us that he's facing some issues, some PC issues. So that's fine. Then you can follow along as I am doing. But is everyone else who is not facing issues, have you been able to load the data? Just let me know. Roshan? Okay, I'm not sure if Roshan is here. And Vinayakan, are you done now?
Yes, I guess. Yes, it's working. Yeah.
Okay, great. And then have you all run this command to keep like certain variables?
Meghna, does income is also one of the variable or it's till urban 2011?
No, income is one of the variable, FU1 is one of the variable, AN1, SN1, and then this IN star is also has to be written. Let me make this bigger actually. Yeah? All of this has to go, the whole line.
Yes,
Has everyone done this? Just give me a thumbs up if you're done till here.
Yes, I could do it.
Okay. What about others? Okay. I got okay. Okay, Roshan. Cool. All right. So I'm going to wait for like maybe 2 more minutes till everyone has basically reached here and you have a data set. It should look something like this. It should have, when you do browse, okay, Roshan, when you do browse, it should say that you have 71 variables and you have 42,152 observations. Does everyone have that? Do we have the same data set? And feel free to unmute yourself to talk to me. You don't have to always type. You can just, if you're facing some issue, and like if you're in a place where you can't talk to me, like feel free to like just send a message. Don't think too much about it. Because this is like, because it's over Zoom, it is difficult for me to see how much you have progressed. So you have to tell me. Okay. All right. So if your PC is working slowly, it's causing issues. I understand that. What I'll do is I'll move forward so we're able to complete the material in the class. You have the do files. You should do it alongside, and if it's causing trouble, then you should do it after the class. But even if you are not doing the work along with me, pay attention so that you can keep asking questions. Okay. All right. So what happens is that after we have gotten these variables, now let's go into look at what do we mean by something that is missing. So I want everyone to browse the data till you see something that looks like it is missing. Okay. So let's see, what does a missing thing look like? So if I type browse, and this is the data I have, right? So do you see anything in state ID that looks missing? At least right now, it all looks complete, right? Similarly here, all of these look complete. Here also we have entries. ID level also we have entries. But then when you come to ID 13, do you see this dot? Like it says OBC at the top, and then third observation is also OBC, but the second observation, there is no data. This dot, or basically this is what we called a missing data. This means that for some reason, for this household, ID 13 was missing. Let's see what else. Yeah, ID 18B, this variable, it seems like it is missing for a lot of people. Basically, for some reason, the data for this variable is not something that the surveyors could get for this variable. This is known as missing data. In your data, you will often have a lot of data will be missing, because sometimes on the field you're not able to collect certain information, and people are also allowed to selectively answer or not answer some questions, right? So someone might say that I don't want to give you information on, say, my income or something like that. I don't want to give you information on my caste. So what we have to do is we're going to use the help of like the command tab with the option missing to see how missing data looks. So first, for every command, before we use it, we should do help to see like, okay, what are the options in this command? How can we use it? So if we do help tab, then you go to tabulate two-way. In options over here, you will see this option missing, which means treat missing values like other values. Let's see what that means. So first, if I do tab ID 11, right, which is my religion variable. So if I do tab ID 11 and I run it, I get these values on the religion. I get Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, tribal, others, and none. But I'm not getting, it is not telling me. So it is telling me 34,000 are Hindus, almost 5,000 are Muslim, 100 are Jain, but it is not telling me how many observations the data is missing. So let's see what happens if I do tab ID 11, comma missing. If I do this, then now it has a new category. It is also telling me that the religion data is missing for one variable, for like one observation. So there is one observation where we don't know the religion of this person, of this respondent. Okay. So let's see how it shows for others. Tab ID 13, comma missing. Again, we see that like in case of caste category, we will find that there are 86 respondents for which we don't know the caste category. Okay. And then tab FU1. FU1 was our electricity variable. If we do that, so this says household has electricity. There are 164 households for which we don't know if they have electricity or not. For some reason, they were not able to get the data only. Okay. Is this clear? Is this much like how to use tab and missing to see how many observations are missing? Is that clear? If there are any doubts, then you should ask me what the doubt is. No? Okay, let's see. There's a okay. Anyone
Yes,
who has any doubts? Anyone who has doubts? Because then if yes, hello. Yeah.
Hello, hi, Meghna.
Yeah.
So when I'm running that keep ID, keep command, so it shows that variable AN1 not found, and previously it got run.
Oh, and now it's showing it's not, but previously it ran, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you run it all the way from the beginning?
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
this
for me
data set should have AN1. This 361510002 data should have AN1.
For me also, it worked only when I ran it like from the beginning. When I ran the line, it didn't work for me.
Okay. So run it from the beginning and tell me if you are still on the keeping few variables stage. Ankit, were you able to follow the discussion on missing data?
Yeah, I'm able to.
Okay. So let me know when you're done with that. And then let's do this exercise together, okay? Just let me know when you are finished, and then we can start with the exercise. Are you done, Ankit?
No, it's showing AN1 is not found.
It's saying AN1 is not found.
Yeah.
Can you share your code with me through message?
The
Can you
ISDS
just
wala.
yeah, can you just send copy paste your code in the chat window so I can see what you're running? Okay, everyone else who has the data with them, try and do exercise 1. So I want you to calculate how many observations are missing in religion, caste category, household has electricity. We've already done this, but I want you to run it again. And then I want you to calculate how many states have missing data on religion. No, Ankit, I mean, can you send me your code? Like, what is the code you are running?
Yeah.
Thank you. Until then, everyone else, please try and do this exercise. How many states have missing data on religion? Okay. You will use the tab function with missing to calculate this.
Groups.
What's happening, Ankit?
See.
Okay, can someone talk to me about where what stage they're at? I'm feeling very lost right now because I don't know where everyone is. How many people are on the missing data and doing the exercise for the missing data? Because if you're not here, then we'll go back and we'll start again. Right? Okay. I have 1 thumbs up. Is there, okay, 2 thumbs up, cool. How many, okay, so can you, the people who are doing this exercise, can you like message me the answer that you're getting? Okay. So Abid and Vinayakan, you said that you have done this. So can you send me your answer over chat? Like what did you get for how many states have missing data on religion? Okay, and can you tell me also which state it was? Okay. As for other people, Roshan, Kavita, Saras, Chandra, are you still having trouble with just running the code on the PC? Is that what is happening? Because if that is the problem, then we'll just go over the code I have already written slowly, and I'll show how it works. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, Ankit, were you able to fix it?
Yeah, now it got this.
Okay. Okay. So let's see. So now what happens is, now this is, if you want to see missing variables and missing data in 2 variables, it's basically just the same thing. You use tab with 2 variables and then you do missing. So then here, what you will see is it basically gives you a tab of 2 variables, but now you know that there is one observation that is missing in religion, but we know that the person whose religion is missing has electricity, right? And then we also know that there are like 164 observations for which we don't have data on electricity, but we have data on their religious characteristics. This is how you can use a 2-way missing variable. Thank you. And then if you do, so this is like if electricity is missing, right? So then it will show me what are the different states for which electricity is missing. So in Himachal Pradesh, there is 1 household for which electricity data is missing. In Haryana, there is 29. In Delhi, there is 1, and so on. And then the exercise wanted us to do how many states have missing data on religion. So then we will do tab state ID if missing ID 11, because that's the variable for religion. And you see that Arunachal Pradesh has 1 missing observation on religion and no other states. Okay, so this much clear. So I think what's happening today is that because not many people are facing issues with the machine and are not able to follow along, I will spend more time just showing the codes on my machine. And those of who you are following along, just give me thumbs up or send me on chat if you are able to run the code on your machine. Or better, like tell me if you run into an issue, okay? So now the main thing about STATA, before we sort of before we begin, like the main thing, we were supposed to do cleaning today. Before we clean, we need to talk about something called if qualifiers. You have already seen an example of this. For instance, here, I'm saying tab state. So show me the states if missing ID 11. This if missing ID 11 is a if qualifier. It's basically saying ki, show me those states for which this ID 11 variable is missing, right? And this missing ID 11 is a condition that I'm putting on the data. Ki I want only those observations for which ID 11 is missing. So in STATA, a lot of work happens using these if qualifiers, okay? So you have these conditions which tell STATA, ki, look, show me only these observations, you know? So you may only want a subset of observations, a small part of the data set. So in this case, I wanted to see only those states for which religion was missing. So I was like, so show me only for if religion is missing. These are known as if qualifiers. So for example, one example is if I want to see religion variable only for the state of Karnataka, right? So if I want to see the religion variable, let's if qualifiers, right? So if I want to see religion variable, this is like if I'm saying religion variable for all states, then all I have to do is tab ID 11, right? And we have done this many times. So this will show me that this is the total breakup of religion in this data set. But what if I just want religion variable for one state, which is Karnataka, right? So first I will have to figure out which state is Karnataka. So first you do label list state ID. This will tell me, okay, that state number 29 is coded as Karnataka. Okay. And then I will do tab ID 11 if state ID is equal to 29. And this will tell me religion, the breakup of religion in Karnataka. So if I did tab ID 11, normally it was telling me that there are like over the whole country, about 82% are Hindus. But in Karnataka, it seems like 86% are Hindus, right? In this sample. So we get to see the breakup of this variable by a particular state. That is what this code here, that is what the if part does. And state equals Karnataka is this part, which is the condition that we are using. Okay, any doubts still here? Okay, I'm going to assume no doubts and I'm moving ahead. So the way you create these conditions, now if you'll see how we created this condition here was by using this double equal to, right? We were like state ID double equal to 29. That's how we use this. But there are many ways of creating these conditions. So if you want to say that something is equal to, you have to use the double equal sign. And I will talk about why it's double equal and not single equal. If you want to say not equal to, you have to use this, which is exclamation and then an equal to. Larger than, less than is the same that we always use. Larger than or equal to is also the same. And then these are like and or conditions. And we'll see how and or can also be used, right? But what if you want to make two conditions? So what if you want to say religion variable for Karnataka or Orissa, right? So you want to check for both the states. So first you figure out what are the variables for what are the labels for the states. So Orissa is 21, Karnataka is 29, right? And then you do this or state ID equal 21. So tell me the religion if the state is Karnataka or the state is Orissa. And then it will give me this. So if you look at both the states together, almost 90% are Hindus, okay? So keep this in mind. I have put down some homework exercise. So I want you to write down the conditions for all of these, okay? What is the condition for state is Maharashtra? What is the condition for state is Maharashtra or Kerala? State is both Maharashtra and Kerala. And you'll find an issue over here. So we'll talk about that like the next time. State is Haryana and the household does not have electricity. Household has electricity or mother tongue of respondent is Bangla. And then some stuff on income and education is up to the 4th standard. These are homework problems. I want you to write down these conditions. What you can do is you can send them to me, just email them to me when you're done. and I can send you an answer sheet. Okay. But I'll send the answer sheet after you send me your answers, not before. Okay. All right. Now, this issue of difference between single equal to and double equal to. So you'll see that here, when we were giving like if conditions, we were using double equal to. So if I was saying, ki, tell me the religion for state of Karnataka, then I was using this double equal to sign, not single equal to. That's because single equal to is used to assign. By assign, I mean, if I want to generate a new variable, and we will see how we will generate variables today. So we will do this later on. And I want to say, generate a variable X, which is equal to 5. Then I'm going to use the single equal to sign, because then I'm saying that make me a variable X and give it the value 5. So if I'm giving something a value, that is single equal to. Double equal to is when I'm not giving a value, but when I'm saying check for this value, right? So I'm not saying ki make state ID 29. I'm saying that when state ID is 29, then check for religion. So in that we use double equal to. Okay. Okay. Everything up till before we begin cleaning, is it clear? Or let me ask, is it not clear? And then yes.
I was about
Okay.
to ask what's the difference between and or, but like you almost give it as an homework. So I guess we should figure it out ourselves, right?
Yes, you should figure it out yourself. Figure out what is the difference between and or. Okay. And what you can do is, you already know that and you use this command, you use this operator, and or you use this operator. So use these operators and see what answers are you getting. Okay. So see what you get for state is either Maharashtra or Kerala, and state is Maharashtra and Kerala. Okay. So that is homework. Okay. Any other doubts up till here? Okay, I will continue. If there are doubts, unmute and ask, or like give me a message on chat. And if there are doubts, you can also always message me later on. So that's fine, you know. Okay, so this is how we will proceed with the rest of the class. For every command, we will first do help that command. We will read the syntax, and then we will try to see how to use that command. Okay. So now we want to rename variables. Over here, like their variables have really weird names. Like religion is called ID 11, caste is called ID 13, income source is ID 14. You might want to change the name of the variable so it is easy for you to remember what it is. Okay. So let's start with help rename. Let's run help rename and see what happens. Okay. So this, when I run help rename, it basically gives me this syntax, right? It says rename old var name and new var name. What this is telling me is ki use the rename command, put down like whatever variable you wanted to use, and then give it a new name. And it's that simple. Can anyone tell me from last class what the underline underscore underline in REN is? Like REN is underlined. What does that mean? Anyone?
It's kind of shortcut for like tabular. For tabular, we use tab, and for rename, we can use
exactly. Yeah. So you can either write the full rename or you can write REN. If you write REN, STATA will know you mean rename. Okay. So it's like a short form. So then it says the first exercise is to rename variable AN1 to livestock. Okay. So what is variable AN1? Let's first find. So AN1 is the variable which says that this person owns livestock. And I want to just name it livestock. Okay. So I'll type rename the name of the variable and then the new name I want to give it. And if I go here now and check, then the variable has been named livestock. Okay. Very easy, very simple. You also can name more than one variable at a time, right? So like if you wanted to rename all these variables, you want to rename SN1 to mother tongue. So let's see what is SN1 variable. SN1 variable is mother tongue. And then FU1 variable is household has electricity. Now you want to rename these. One way you can do it is you type like rename SN1 mother tongue. Then you type again, you go rename FU1 electricity. Or you can do them all in a single line by using these brackets. So create a bracket, in that write all the variables that you want to rename. So I'm going to write SN1, FU1. And then in the other bracket, give them the new names respectively. So if I run this, you will see that now there is no variable called FU1. Instead, I have a variable called electricity, and I have a variable called mother tongue. Okay. Is this much clear how to rename and how to rename more than one variable in one command? Yeah.
Yes.
Anyone else? Any doubts? Thumbs up or like a doubt or anything? Okay. Now let's start generating new variables. This is the more like interesting part of STATA, right? Like renaming variables and all of that is just, you will need it to clean data. But a lot of what you will be doing is like making new variables in STATA. You will be looking at key, okay, this is the variable that is already, that they have done in the survey. And from this, I want to calculate something, okay? So how do we start? We always start with help gen. So this is what it says. It says that generate is the function, right? It can create or change contents of a variable. And this is what create new variable, generate, and this is the syntax, okay? So let's go over the syntax slowly. So it says generate, then it says type, okay? What do you think type over here means?
Data type.
Yes, exactly. It's the data type. So you can also specify when you are generating the variable, if you want integer variable, if you want string variable, anything, okay? So generate data type, then new var is the name of the variable, equal to expression, what you want the variable to be, you know. An expression here means like you can put any expression, and we'll see different expressions that we can use. You can use an if condition, you can use an in condition. In conditions we have not come to yet, but like if conditions will you know, we know what if conditions will do. Then after the comma, before var name and after var name just means ki if this is my data set, you know, any new variable I create always gets added at the end of the data set. So any variable that I will create will come over here after this variable. But what if I want it to come, you know, in the third spot? So then I can say that put it before this variable or put it after this other variable, okay? We won't be using this right now. Currently, we will just be using this much. We won't use, we won't go into the before and after yet. Okay, so I want everyone to generate a variable one. Even if your computer is not working, you can write the code and send it to me, right? On chat. So how would you generate a variable called one, jiska value is 1 for all observations, okay? Even if your computer doesn't work, just send me what you would write if your computer worked on my chat window. You also have access to the do file where this code is already written, so you can also go there, look at it, and then but I want to see if everyone is if we are all working at the same stage. So I want everyone to send me a message on chat about what line of code they will write, okay? Is everyone on the same page as me?
I tried to keep before also, but like then I got an error saying awaits not allowed.
Can you send me the code? So I want everyone to send me the code that you use, because if you send me the code, then I can see what you tried to do, right? So please send me the code that you tried to use. Yeah, so you will not put the square bracket. Okay, I'm going to put this, send this to everyone just so that we can see what is the error that has happened. Okay. So this is what Vinayakan did, right? Now, if you go over here, if we go to help gen, it does say, like, it puts this bracket before B, right? And puts a bracket again. These brackets are just for the syntax. We don't actually use the bracket. What it is telling me is that everything in a bracket is optional, okay? So you can use it or you may not use it. What are the things which are not in a bracket? Generate is not in a bracket. So if you're using this function, you have to write gen. New var is not in a bracket. You have to give the variable a name and you have to specify what that variable will be. Without this, your command is not complete. Everything else in the bracket basically means that you may or you may not add it, but you don't need to use the bracket. So thank you, Vinayakan, for sending that, because this is exactly why I want you to write your own code, because you will come across these types of like issues of like what's happening. So if we write the same code, right, that Vinayakan has sent, but we don't use the bracket, it will run. So
There is another error in it. Like I didn't put the curly brackets for the variable name, so that's also an error in my code.
No, that is not an error. You don't need curly brackets. Where are what curly brackets are you talking about?
Not the curly bar. I mean the curved brackets. Like I don't know how to name it.
Which bracket? So this is what you should run.
Yeah.
So this is what you should run. Okay. If you run this, you will find that it works. Okay. Does everyone understand now what I mean by this, what this like bracket over here is doing? And this is why I want that you should try and run your own code, because the only way to learn, like, trust me, the only way to learn is to make mistakes. There is just no other way. You have to, like, you run your own code, you make mistakes, you fix your code, and then you realize, okay? So now we know a little bit more about how to interpret the syntax. Whatever is inside these brackets always means is basically it means that this is optional. Without this, the code will run. But the code will not run if you don't write generate, if you don't write name of new variable, and if you don't write an expression. This is not optional. So similarly here, replace variable, we will come to this later. It says replace, you have to use the name of an old variable. You can't use the name of a new variable. And you have to write what it should be replaced to. But everything else is an option. That's why it is coming in this bracket. Okay? Okay, so did everyone see? If I'm going to do help, 1 is equal to 1, right? And then let's see what variable we have created, okay? We go all the way here. At the very end, we will see that there is a variable we have created, 1, which just has the value, which just takes the value 1 for all observations, right? And let's check the variable out. Let's do tab 1, and you will see it just takes the value 1 for all observations. Okay. Now, obviously, this variable is not very useful. Like you don't want a variable called 1, which is taking values 1. So let's make a useful variable. We're going to generate a variable forward, okay? And we want it to take the value 1, but only for forward cast respondents. So if the variable forward is taking value 1, it means that the respondent is forward cast, okay? And I want you all to write this code and tell me.
Does label list 1 works?
I'm sorry, Vinayakan, yeah?
If you give, I mean, when I tried label list 1, it didn't work. I mean,
Label list 1. That's because there is no label created called 1, right? 1 is just a variable.
okay.
We have not defined a label for 1. So if you look at 1, if you do tab 1, it just has 1. There is no label has not been given to it.
Okay.
So we will get to labeling. We will get to labeling in like, first I want to finish generating data, and then we will do replacing variable values, and then we will do labeling, okay? So if you wait till then, we'll get there. But I first want everyone to create a variable forward, which takes the value 1 for all forward cast respondents. The code is also in the do file, so you can take a look at the do file and then tell me what you find. Try to run the code. And if you're not able to run the code, if you're just following along, then like copy paste the code and send it to me in the chat window, right? So we can see if it's what you're running. Okay. So let's do this. We want a variable called forward. And we wanted to take the value 1 for all forward cast respondents. So first I need to find who are these forward cast respondents, right? So I'll do label list groups, and I'll find that if in the variable groups, 2 is forward cast. So if I do tab groups, the number 2 is supposed to be for forward cast, okay? You can also do it through cast category. If you do tab ID 13, it'll tell you again that the number 2 is for, so if you do label list ID 13, then 2 is basically the number that we have assigned to forward cast. So then we can say that gen forward is equal to 1 if groups is equal to 2. Basically, give me a variable 1 forward and make it equal 1 whenever groups equals 2. And when groups equals 2, when we have forward cast respondent. So then if I run this, it will create a new variable forward. You'll see a lot of forward is missing. We'll see why forward is missing, okay? But when you do tab forward, it basically gives me the value 1, and there are 7,000 observations. If you did tab groups, you will see there are 7,000. Exactly how many forward cast respondents in the variable groups is what we got over here. There are about 7,037. If you do tab forward equal to 1, okay? Forward cast. I'm not sure how many of you are following because you're saying nothing to me. So, all I see is like black screen. So I can't tell if you're following or not. You have to talk to me. I would like, tell me if you're not following, tell me if there are any doubts. But in case no one is asking doubts, I'm going to assume we are understanding, okay? And I will move forward. All right. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to replace values, right? You don't just want to generate a variable. Sometimes you want to go inside the variable and replace some values. So let's do help. We already did help replace. And this is what it was. Replace the name of the variable into whatever you want. And you can use these conditions, if, in, whatever, right? So now let's explore this variable forward. What values does it have? Okay, so first we do tab forward. What value does it have? It seems to just have value 1, right? What is the other value that it has? Everything else is missing. Can we guess why everything else is missing? Like it just has value 1. And then for a lot of observations, forward is just missing. That's because we told forward we said, hey, forward should be a variable which takes the value 1 when groups are 2. But we did not tell it what to do if the group is not equal to 2. So if you look at the variable forward, if groups is not equal to 2, you'll see that there are no observations, which basically means it's missing completely. So when groups is not equal to 2, then this forward variable is missing. So now let's see. We want to replace it such that it's going to take value 1 for forward cast respondents and value 0 for all others, okay? So it already takes value 1 for forward cast respondents, but we want to change the missing values into 0 whenever there is some other cast respondent. So what we'll do is, you'll say replace forward is 0 if the group is not equal to 2 and if the group is also not missing, right? So when you do tab groups, comma miss, you see that like, you'll see that like these are all the values that groups can have. You can be Brahmin, forward caste, OBC, Dalit, Adivasi, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Jain. But there are 23 values for which groups itself is missing. And okay, we don't know what group they belong to. So that also we don't want to give it 0 because it's not the case that they are not forward. It just means that we don't know the data. We want that to be missing. So we'll say that replace forward, make forward 0 whenever groups is not 2 and groups is not missing. And let's run this. And now let's see what happens if we do tab forward. Yeah, now we have 1, but we also have 0 for all these other values. And this is telling me that 16% of the data is forward, is from forward groups. Okay. Any questions, anything?
Could you
so
explain
far?
the part? Could you explain the part after the and?
Yeah, so you know how like the data, the variable groups also has missing data in it, right?
Yeah.
So what are the 2 things that can happen if you are not forward, if you are not a forward cast person in the group's data? You can either be like a Brahmin, OBC, Dalit, Adivasi, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Jain, or you yourself can have missing data, right? So I wanted to, for like all of these other ones, which are not forward, I wanted to take the value 0, but I don't want it to take the value 0 when it is missing. Then I wanted to keep the value as missing, right? So the condition here is that groups should not be forward and groups should not be missing. So what do we get if groups is not forward and not missing? We get Brahmin, OBC, Dalit, Adivasi, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Jain, right? And then if you do tab forward missing, you'll see that these same 23 observations which were missing in groups is also missing now. Because for those observations, we don't know what group they are in. So we don't know if they are forward or not. So it should be missing. Is that clear?
Yes. Yes.
Like, is the condition clear? Basically,
Yes.
the condition is saying groups should not be 0 and groups should not be missing. If these 2 conditions are met, then forward should be 0. Okay. Now let's do help label. Okay. So we had already, last class, we did label the variable, right? We changed the variable names of certain variables. Now let's try and see how we can label values. Why is this going to be useful? Let's do tab forward again. Now tab forward just says 0 and 1. If someone has not created basically this variable forward, they don't know, if someone just like sees this variable forward, they will not know what 0 and 1 here means. They don't know what the variable means. Variable does not have a label. The values also don't have a label. So first we're going to label the variable, okay? So I will label here, I will say labeling variable name, labeling variable. So I'll say lab var forward, and let's call this variable respondent is forward cast. Okay. So once we do this, go over here and you can see forward now has a label. Respondent is forward cast. Okay. But we still don't know what the 0 and the 1 means, right? It says respondent is forward cast 0, 1. We don't know what it means. We want to give this labels. So how we do that is first we define a label. Okay, we basically say that this label is going to have these values. And then we write label values of the variable that we want using this label. So we'll say label define. I'm creating a label called forward. And I want the label to basically be when it is value 1 should be called forward and 0 should be called not forward. Okay. I define this variable, this label, and then I basically say through lab val, I'm saying basically label the values of the forward variable with the forward label. And now if you do tab forward, oh God, my computer is stuck. Hello. Okay, yeah. Now when you do tab forward, instead of saying 0 and 1, it will show you, it's going to show key respondent is forward cast. There are so many not forwards and there are so many forwards. Is that clear?
You repeat the last bit. I mean, naming
Which
the
one?
variables. Naming.
Naming the variable values.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are the values that forward has? Right?
Forward and not forward.
It has it has 0 and 1. And I want to give them a label. So what I will do is I will have to define a label, right? Because what should 1 and 0 be? I have to tell the computer that. I have to tell STATA that. So I'm going to define a label forward saying that 1 should be forward and 0 should be not forward. Okay. And then I'm going to say label values, or like, let's call this something else. Forward label. Like that's what I'm defining the label as, right? And then I'm saying that label the values of the forward variable with the forward label. And that then labels it. So if you go to help label, right? It's saying that define the value label first. So label define, and then you have to give the name of the label, then you have to write the value and what the label is. And then it's saying assign value label to variables. So then you have to say label values, name of the variable that you want to assign, and then the name of the label. That's what we have done over here. So we have first defined this label. We've called it, iska naam we have is forward label. We are saying that value 1 in this label should be forward, value 0 should be not forward. Then we are saying now we want to label the variable forward using this label, forward label. Is that better?
Okay. So all the time we have to proceed by firstly defining the label and then defining the variable. Assigning the label to a variable.
Yes, exactly. And you don't need to keep like maybe if you want to use the same label, like what if the label was something like yes and no, right? This is something that you can use again and again. Then you only define the label once, and you give it to many like variables. But yeah, that's how you have to move. Okay. Is anyone else, are there other people who are like also following along, have doubts? Again, if you don't ask me, then I will just assume that there are no doubts. Okay. All right. So then think about, like, last week we had a discussion on the different types of data, right? So we spoke about how data can be string, which basically means it's like character based, alphabets and things like that. Or it can be an integer, which means you can do math on it. Obviously, different variables have different data types, and how you want to store the data depends on obviously what you want to do with it. So like, and we had also gone and seen key, if a variable is integer, it is colored blue. And if a variable is string, it is colored like with red, and black means it is a float variable. Okay. Float means that it can take values which are which go into decimals, and it does not have a label. So that's the difference over here. The blue thing over here means key, the variable is 1 and it has a label. That's why it's blue. But this does not have a label. Or like if I look at income data, yeah, if you look at income obviously is not going to have a label, right? It's just giving me the raw like income of this household. So it's not going to have a label. Okay. When can income have a label? If I had instead categorized income into something like less than 50,000, more than 50,000, less than 1 lakh, more than 1 lakh, then I could have put labels on it. Okay. Now we can also, but data types are also not like given. We can change the data type, right? We can go from string to integer, and we can go from integer to string. And you will see that these changing data types right now, it's not very useful, but later on, you will see that there are many uses to it. And sometimes you want to change it. Okay. So using Google, I mean, if you're all still here, I want you to find the command that we can use to change data type from string to integer. Okay. And again, like, you can just send me the answer that you find over chat whenever you find it. Okay, there's one answer, that is recast. Any other answers? Okay. We are going to use dstring and toString. Okay, these are two very easy commands. Let's just take a look at what dstring does. So what it does is you have to write dstring, you have to write the name of the variable, and then you can either generate a new variable, which is the dstringed version of that variable, or replace it. So what dstring will do is it will change from string to numeric. And if you want to change from numeric to string, you just use toString. So it's basically they're like reverse commands of each other. So let's see. Let's see first what is our variable forward. So a variable forward is a float. Float means that it can take integer, it can take decimal values, and it is basically a numeric. So let's see what happens if we try to destring the variable forward. Okay. So it will say that forward is already numeric, no replace. Because it is already numeric, you can't destring it. You can't make it more numeric. But we can make it into a string, right? So let's browse forward first to see what changes happen. So forward currently is coming in blue because it is a variable, it is a numeric variable with labels, right? But now let's see what change happens. So if I do toString forward and I want to generate a new variable called forward string. Right? So it says forward string has been generated as a string 1. Let's browse both forward and forward string and see what happened. Right. So it is red, which means it's a string. And it did not take the label. So it's not forward string is not called not forward. It took the value. The value of not forward was 0. It took the value 0 and basically made it into a string, which means you can't do math or anything on this 0, right? And wherever it is forward, it is 1. And then we can, let's describe forward string. Let's see what happens. Forward string is basically a string variable of length 1. And then we can destring it. We can again turn it into a numeric. And when we do this, browse forward string. Now you can see it is black. It is the numeric variable, right? It's the same thing, but it's a numeric. So this command can help with changing the data types. And then finally, we have a command called egen. Basically, what happens is that you want to create the variables that you want to create are often related to other variables in the data set, right? And egen can help you use functions to make these variables very easily. So for example, if you go in the data, you have all these income variables, right? You have income from crops, you have market home, you have non-agricultural income, farm wage, salary income, Narega income, right? Say that you want to calculate the total income using all the other households. Now in this data set, they already have a variable called total income, but let's say that you want to calculate income from 2-3 different data sources. So how will you calculate that? You basically want to add these incomes, right? So the way to do that is we will use something called row total. Let's go to help egen. And you can see that it gives you more ways of generating. And the way to do that is you write egen, write the name of the new variable, and then you give it a function instead of an argument, instead of an expression. So let's see what are the functions that we can use. These are all the different functions. Now, I was saying we are going to use the function row total, right? So let's look at row total. Right, this is row total. It says it's going to create the row sum of the variable in wireless, treating missing as 0, okay? So that basically means that it's going to add up the row sum. So what that means is let's browse all the income variables we have, right? What it's going to do is it is going to, if this is the income variables I want to add, non-agricultural, agricultural, salary, Narega. It is going to add these it's going to create the sum, but in a row, because you can create a sum also in a column. This is going to create a sum in a row of these variables, okay? So let's see what happens if we add some of these big incomes. So I'm basically creating income new variable. which is some of these big incomes. They're not all the incomes. They have like the data set has incomes from from lots of different types of income. Let's just take this one. These few incomes. Non-agricultural, what are the incomes we're looking at? Non-agricultural, farm wage, salary, Narega, and then income from crops. Okay. And then it will generate a new variable. It will generate a new variable income new. And I can, one second. And then I can browse income and income new to see how close the two incomes are. So you can see that these are like, kind of close. The reason they don't perfectly match is because I have not added all the income variables, but you can see that they are kind of close. Okay. And this is basically, I have created a new variable which only looks at the aggregate of these incomes. Is that clear? Or like, I mean, any doubts, any confusion up till here? Because that's our class for today. You should definitely go over all of this, go over the homework stuff that I've given, and like, take a look at the homework things. And then if you want, you can send your answers to me and I will send like an answer sheet back.
Can I ask a doubt?
Yes.
So once we label the variable value, right? So then still the variable value, I mean, it's just what we see will change, but like the variable value will be won't go anywhere.
Yes, exactly. That is why it's called a label, because you are only putting a label on the value. The value is still 0 or 1. It's just that when you show the variable to people, the value will have some label on it. Yes.
In an Excel file or so, how will that be stored? Like, I mean, I don't know.
Well, it depends on, so if you want to export it to an Excel, you can actually export it as just the value, or you can export it as label. So if you export it as value, it will just come as value. If you export it as label, it will just come as label. But you don't want to be exporting things to Excel from STATA anyway, right?
Okay. I mean, if you want to take it out at any point of time,
then you will take it out as a STATA data set.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to take it as an Excel data set, you can. And then you can choose if you want to keep the value or the label. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, is it? Okay. Any doubts from anyone else? I'm going to stop screen sharing. I'm not sure if how many people were following along today, but I hope that if you were following along, that you were able to understand some of this. The material has been shared as well, so you can go over it, and you can also like send me doubts if you have any kind of doubts or anything that you're having after you're going over the material. You can send it to me, and obviously you can send me the homework and everything. Okay, thanks for the thumbs up. Thank you. Because it's very weird teaching when you can't see